This is Lisbon, Portugal. And it is one of the oldest cities in the world. It's characterized by its windy, compact streets and hilly geography. Nestled on the banks of the Tagus River, it has long charmed visitors with its architectural wonders, historic neighborhoods, and cultural vibrancy, making it a top travel destination. And tourism is a major part of Lisbon's economy, with 6 tourists for every resident in 2022. But this increase in tourism has stretched Lisbon's transport network to the brink. Overcrowded buses, hour-long waits for tram rides, and closures for maintenance are pushing transit to its breaking point. How did Lisbon get here? And who does its public transport really serve? The hills of Lisbon and its narrow, windy streets posed a challenge for moving, well, just about anything. Horses and people struggled up its challenging geography. Then came the electric tram. Fixed on rails, it could navigate the tight spaces between buildings, and electric traction meant that it could climb steep hills with ease. In 1884, the first electric funiculars began running in Lisbon, and trams were introduced in 1901. Trams and funiculars were unmatched, quickly becoming the backbone of the city. 100 years ago, at the turn of the 19th century, these funiculars were the best way to get up the hills of Lisbon. Now, they've been mostly replaced by a modern mode, the bus. It was faster, cheaper, and more reliable. Lisbon no longer needed to build expensive tracks and overhead wires. Any one of the city's many streets were now fair game for transit service. These streets have very steep grades and could conceivably be served better by rubber-tired buses that grip better onto the street. And that's exactly what happened. The bus allowed Lisbon to provide more transit service than ever before, rendering the aging tram network obsolete. Since 1959, the tram network has shrunk from 27 lines to just 6 lines, and only one of those lines have been upgraded to modern standards. Out of the remaining 6 tram lines, tram 15 is the only one that has been modernized with its own dedicated right-of-way. The rest of the trams still look like this, preserved just as they were 100 years ago. The ride quality on this thing is absolutely horrible. I'm getting tossed around and it's very loud in here. Unfortunately, these trams get stuck in traffic with all the other cars. These trams are absolutely tiny and they feel like the size of a minibus. That means these trams are absolutely packed with all the tourists. And while the trams and funiculars remained frozen in time, the bus brought a new age of modernity to public transit. Even though Lisbon is known for its iconic yellow trams, the buses are actually the backbone of its network. And the city of Lisbon has realized this. These buses are high capacity, offer frequent service, and they're air conditioned. These modern buses are also low floor, so they offer people easy on and off and give access to those with disabilities. But as time went on, the bus no longer kept up with the city's rapid growth. Just like the trams it replaced, buses became slow and overcrowded, stuck in traffic on Lisbon's hilly streets. Lisbon realized it needed a faster, higher capacity mode of transport, and thus, in 1955, started construction on an underground metro, with enough capacity to serve the incredibly dense inner city while being immune to hilly terrain. And that changed everything. It was fast, frequent, and reliable, completely separated from traffic. The metro is like a portal from A to B, turning the complex geography of the city into a simplified version that's much easier to navigate. No longer were riders stuck on slow, crowded trams and buses. The metro, along with a highly developed connecting bus network, provided an unprecedented level of mobility. It was the final nail in the coffin for Lisbon's humble trams. So if the train, metro, and buses are way more efficient than these antiquated trams, why would you ride them at all? The yellow electric trams, especially the tram number 28, have become cultural icons. They squeeze through narrow streets in historic neighborhoods, offering a nostalgic journey through the city's ancient and modern landmarks. These trams are a journey back in time, and it really brands the city of Lisbon. You can see these trams on tourist brochures and advertisements all over the city. These trams run on super narrow streets that you could reach out and almost touch the buildings. And the grades are insane. These trams climb grades of up to 16%. At the end of the day, this is not a real transportation solution. It's a tourist ride. But that's entirely the point. The trams and funiculars weren't preserved to provide any transportation value. In fact, these are the destinations in themselves. Although part of Keras, the public transport authority, these funiculars have their own fares, recognizing its tourist value. At almost €4 a ride, these are a money printing machine. They are double the cost of conventional transit in Lisbon. This funicular also has a role in spurring the tourist economy. It attracts people from all over the world to come and see this beautiful street. Lisbon's public transport network fuels its booming tourism economy. Yet, in many ways, it is a victim of its own success. The unique geography and history of the city has turned that public transport into a tourist attraction itself, from the iconic yellow trams to the scenic ferry rides. Lisbon now stands at a crossroads. Any attempt to modernize the system risks leaving a century of history behind, while stringent heritage preservation prevents public transport from adequately serving modern-day transportation demand. This juxtaposition is the essence of Lisbon's current transportation quandary. Lisbon is now grappling with an influx of tourists who, while essential for the economy, are stressing the transport network, particularly in parts of the city that rely on century-old infrastructure. But look at any picture, souvenir, or postcard, and you'll see these bright yellow trams proudly displayed at the forefront. Because without them, Lisbon wouldn't be Lisbon.
Lights out, I'm your favorite. Too many ways, been in your place, there's delays. Added up plus signs, zeros on the table. I just don't wanna settle under these lucid dreams. Yeah, I'm not just a visionary. It's all making sense to me. Not a basic, ain't no ordinary. Under these lucid dreams, I'm not thinking